In this video, we're talking all about angels. You know, those benevolent spiritual beings who float around with wings and halos, right? Wrong. In fact, whether or not angels have wings isn't the only commonly misunderstood aspect of these mysterious creatures. So what are angels, where did they come from, and what do they actually do? Well, let's start with what an angel even is. The English word angel is derived from the Greek word angelos, which simply means a messenger. So this word can be used of any messenger in the Bible, whether it's human or divine. So in the Gospel of Matthew, John the Baptist was called an angelos. And in his epistle, James refers to the two men who spied out the city of Jericho as angelos, or messengers. Now, of course, neither John the Baptist or the spies were divine beings. They were just human messengers. And it also works the same way in the Old Testament, which was written in Hebrew. There, the word for angel is malach, which again simply refers to a messenger, whether it's human or divine. But we're talking about divine beings. So what separates the angelic messengers from the human ones? Well, you might think that one key difference is the way that angels look, because most classical Christian art depicts angels as these glowing figures with wings on their backs and halos above their heads, but there actually isn't much biblical evidence to support that. In fact, what we do know from the Bible is that angels look just like regular human beings. In Genesis chapter 19, we read of two angels that entered the house of Lot, and later the men of Sodom come knocking on the door, asking for the men that came into his house. And in Judges chapter 13, we read about Manoah, who was unaware that he was speaking to an angel until the angel ascended to heaven in a flame of fire. So if looks don't differentiate men from angels, then what does? Well, the key difference between human and angelic messengers is their divine nature. Angels share God's divine nature. In other words, they are immortal. Now we know this because of verses like Luke chapter 20, verse 35 to 36, which says, "But they which shall be accounted worthy to obtain the world and the resurrection from the dead, neither marry or are given in marriage, neither can they die any more, for they are equal to the angels." And so this actually brings up some really important implications. In the Bible, death is the penalty for sin. Romans chapter 6 verse 3 makes this abundantly clear when it says, "The wages of sin is death." So if death is the penalty for sin, it stands to reason that the angels who are immortal and cannot die also do not sin, because if they did, they would die as a consequence and would therefore not be immortal. So that means that angels don't sin, and so the common conceptions of the devil being a fallen angel must be mistaken. But that's the topic for another video. So angels are divine and immortal messengers, and specifically, they are God's messengers. They perform missions on God's behalf. So when God protected the nation of Israel from the army of the Egyptians, it was actually an angel who was sent from God who stood between the two camps. And when God saved his people from the Assyrian army, it was a single angel who wiped out 185,000 men in one night. And when Mary was told that she would be the one to give birth to Jesus, it was an angel sent from God to deliver the message. What's interesting is that though angels possess higher physical and spiritual abilities than us, they also have some very key limitations. There are some things that the angels just don't know. For example, 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 12 talks about things that even the angels want to learn about. And Matthew 23 verse 6 says that not even the angels of heaven know the day or the hour when Jesus will return to set up the kingdom. So that's what angels are, but what do they actually do? Well, as we said, one of the key roles of angels was to act as ambassadors for God to humans. Now, this is really important because some places in the Bible say that no man hath seen God, while other places say that people saw God face to face. So how do you reconcile those two ideas together? Well, there's a story in the book of Exodus where Moses sees God in a burning bush. In the one verse, it says that an angel of the Lord appeared to Moses in the bush, and then just a few verses later, it says that God called to Moses out of the midst of the bush. So this is a classic example of angelic representation. Because humans can't see God, God sends his angels to represent himself to humans. And so these angels speak and act with the authority of God, even though they are not God himself. It's a lot like how kings or rulers would send their own ambassadors when they wanted to share an important message. The words were spoken as if they were the king's, even though it wasn't the king directly sharing the message. But of course, this begs the question, if angels act as God's ambassadors, well then why don't we see them today? Well, maybe you have, or maybe you will, Angels don't need to speak with us on behalf of God because we already have God's word recorded in the Bible. So nowadays, angels perform missions on behalf of God, they direct the nations to bring about God's will, and they minister to the needs of believers, but they don't explicitly need to appear in front of our very eyes. So that's just about everything we know about the angels. But there is one more thing. The Gospel of Luke says that those who are worthy in the sight of God will one day be made equal to the angels. That means immortal, unable to sin and experience physical infirmities, and able to perfectly perform God's will. So if that's something that interests you, and you want to learn more about how you can be a part of that future, make sure to learn more about God's plan by watching this video right here.